When you're playing a Title Tuesday tournament, chances are you're gonna face some famous guys. In my case, in just one day, I have played against Alexandra Botez first and then against Daniel Naroditsky. So I'm gonna share with you both of the games. They're amazing, so you're gonna enjoy it, but also I want to make it as instructive for you as possible, so I'm gonna share my decision-making process move by move, so let's get started. So first of all, the game against Alexandra Botez, I have played as black here, d4, d6, c4, e5. I immediately offered this endgame here after d takes e and queen takes d8, which is actually pretty good for black, but well, she played knight f3, trying to get some rich game here, and that is what happened. I played knight d7, of course there is e4 move, which is very active, but yeah, I just wanted to get the position I know, so I played here knight d7, knight f6, bishop e7, and just castles. A very solid one, pretty passive as well, you might say, but actually very good stable position, and I know my ideas here. So I played c6 and prepared the attack on the queen side. I want to play b5, and of course white can stop it, but well, also it's possible to just ignore it. That is what happened, castles, and I played here the move b5, yeah, immediately trying to get some initiative. Alexandra played here b4, and well, I just continued the development. Of course, there are a bunch of pawns to take, but it's not that clear whether it's gonna bring me something. And here d5 happened, and that is a moment for a strategical decision here, because I have to take something, and well, the pawn structure is going to be decided. I have said, well, I'm gonna take on c4 first, and then once my opponent takes, I'm gonna probably take on d5 too, and then, well, it's a typical position. I want to attack the b4 pawn, I want to bring my bishop to b7, and yeah, something like that. But Alexandra actually surprised me here with the move d takes c, allowing me to take the bishop, and I was pretty happy about that, because now after c takes d, queen takes, and bishop b7, my bishop is so great here, and it doesn't have any counter bishop to fight against it. So rook d1 happened, and of course here the right move was to play d5. I unfortunately didn't do that. I thought, well, I'm gonna bring my rook to the open file first, and then I have even decided to double it. But here was the perfect moment to play d5, which is actually one of the typical ideas in this opening. Yes, the pawn on e5 is hanging, but I have some ideas there. The e4 is hanging, the b4 is hanging, and well, I have a pair of bishops, so I absolutely have to open up the position. Instead, I played here rook to c8, which is fine, but after knight to d2, I played rook to c6, and this idea to double the rooks wasn't that successful, because somehow the rooks are very clumsy. I don't really have enough space for all of the pieces, and all those knights are coming here, and yeah, it wasn't such a great situation to find myself in. And so I decided I have to go bishop d8 to secure all of those squares, to make sure that if the knight is coming, I'm gonna exchange it. f3, yeah, just stabilizing here, protecting the e4, and now I played rook to c4, which seems like an active move. I'm attacking the b4 pawn, the rook is protected, but actually it's a huge blunder. Maybe you can find the right move here for white. Try to pause the video, because this position is completely winning for white. Okay, so the right move is knight a to c5, and unfortunately suddenly this rook on c4 is not protected, and my queen is hanging, my bishop is hanging. I mean, if I just take it on c5, it's a huge advantage for white. I decided to play queen b5, trying to still continue the game, because now my rook is protected. I'm attacking this knight. If it takes the bishop, okay, I'm gonna take it back, but my rook is gonna be protected, and the b4 pawn is still hanging. But queen takes d6 happened. Now I played bishop c7, because, well, basically the bishop was hanging. For example, if I play queen takes b4, just queen takes, and that's basically a checkmate, or at least I lose a lot of material. So I played bishop c7 here, defending this pawn on e5. It's a move with a tempo. I get rid of this back rank problem, and then I was hoping to still take the b4 pawn. So queen d3 happened, rook takes b4. I'm offering the queens exchange. Of course, I would be very happy to exchange the queens, because I don't have enough space. Somehow all of the pieces are so weird here, and once the queens are off the board, it's much simpler for me to deal with all of the threats. But queen d2, very good, spotted by Alexandra that the queens shouldn't go off the board, because it's still very difficult for me. I played bishop b6, and I thought, well, now I'm attacking this knight on c5 so much. I mean, if it goes back, I'm always fine. But unfortunately, this position is completely winning for white if you play something like a4 here. And then the queen is hanging and the rook is hanging on b4, so I can't just go back. I'm gonna lose my rook. And if I play queen c4, then just rook to c1, the queen has no moves at all now. The rook is still hanging. I mean, that's completely lost. But, well, it's blitz, and what happens in blitz oftentimes is that you plunder some pieces. So Alexandra played here, instead of the move a4, knight to d7. Seems like an active move, but in fact, yeah, it's just losing the piece because I'm just taking here with a knight. And now if you take with the queens, then you lose the bishop. If you take the bishop, I can take with a knight, or I can take with a queen with a check. So either way, I'm just a piece up here, and the position from +7 here in one move after knight d7, it's -7, so completely winning for black. So what happened here? Queen takes d7, bishop takes e3, check, and then, well, I still had very little time, so I needed to be solid here. I decided to protect all of my pieces to make sure that I don't get checkmated, so I played f6, and then, yeah, protected everything basically, and I didn't want to allow my opponent any counterplays. That's very important in blitz. So, but g4 still coming, and then king to g4, and then even king to f5. My opponent wants to create some checkmating ideas here, maybe with a king, maybe with a rook. But yeah, I just played bishop e8. I wanted to make sure that the pawn is also not coming, that the king is not coming to g6, and then bishop h5 completely blocking the whole thing. So no matter how many extra pieces you have, watch for your opponent's counterplay. So you should always control it. Rook e8. Now my idea was just to checkmate my opponent, because suddenly this king has no squares to go, and I wanted to play g6, which happened here. King takes, and then rook to c6, check, and the king has no squares to escape. Rook d6, rook takes, checkmate. So that was the game against Alexandra Botez, but don't go away, because the next one against Daniel Naroditsky is even more incredible, so let me share it with you. Here I also played as black, and I started with the same thing. I played d6, knight f6. The great thing about this opening, you don't care what your opponent is doing, you can always do the same thing and get a pretty good position, which happened here in this game. Knight d7. So bishop g5 is something completely different, but knight d7 still works. It defends the bishop, so I don't compromise my pawn structure. And then I still play e5, because, well, the spin is just temporary. I go bishop e7 and, yeah, deal with the spin. So that is what happened, bishop d3. And now I played c6. Still, you can see exactly the same moves as against Alexandra, even though she did something completely different. That is how powerful this idea is, and the position is still objectively pretty good. I mean, my opponent is very solid. He's a little bit more active, but I don't have any difficulties. e4, and now, well, Daniel realized he has to be active if he wants to win the game, and of course he wants to win the game. So I played h6 here, bishop h4, and suddenly I realized that this knight is coming to c4, and then my pawns are kind of in trouble. So I played queen c7 first. I wanted to protect it, and then rook to e1 and knight f8. I have started this maneuver. It's normal to get the knight to g6 and maybe to f4, but somehow knight is already coming to c4. Probably I should have still continued it with knight to g6, but, well, I played bishop d8 because I was worried about this e5 pawn. I mean, I was always fine with exchanging the rook for a pair of knights. That would be just perfect for me, but unfortunately, it's not that simple. And so here, probably I should have played something like knight g4. That was a very interesting move, trying to exchange those bishops and then still getting more space as knight is still going to g6. Something like that was interesting for me. Instead, I took on d4 here. I thought, well, I'm opening up the e-file, the rook is very active, but suddenly this d6 pawn is just so horribly weak and I can't do anything to deal with it. So I played d5. I said, well, if I can exchange it, then everything is perfect. But unfortunately, the bishop is coming to g3 here with a tempo. And all of a sudden, my queen has no squares to go. I mean, wherever I go, it's going to be attacked and I'm in trouble. So I decided to play knight d6, try to use some tactical tricks here, because if you take, suddenly everything is completely fine. I'm attacking this knight with a check, and otherwise I'm attacking this bishop on c7. So that would be a fantastic variation for me, but of course Daniel is incredibly strong, so he played queen to d2, and now wherever my queen is going, I'm in trouble. I played queen to e7, but now bishop goes to d6. And if I go to d7, then just knight to e5 and my queen is trapped, I'm completely lost. So I decided to go for some tactics once again. Knight takes e4. Now if you take the queen, knight takes d2, and this position is actually completely winning for black all of a sudden. But of course, well, my opponent is incredibly strong, so he's not gonna blunder such a thing. He played bishop takes e4, I played queen to f6 and said, well, now I'm pinning both of the pieces, I'm still active here, so if I just survive, if I can get one of those pieces back, then I should be fine. But the problem is the same, the queen is in trouble. So bishop e5 happens, queen e7, and now knight to d6. The knight is very active. If I go away with the rook, then I'm just a whole piece down, so I decided to take the bishop here on e4, but now knight takes e8, and I took the knight on f3. I thought, well, this knight is still hanging, so he has to go back, and then I still have, I don't know, f takes g, some compensation, I'm gonna attack the king, but unfortunately, knight takes g7 is possible here, and this rook is suddenly so active along the e file. I mean, that's just a very huge problem now. The queen is coming, and yeah, everything falls apart. I took it back, but now bishop takes g7, and I have to play queen g5, otherwise I'm gonna just lose due to a checkmate. So I played that, but the endgame is just, yeah, hopeless. So the game continued for a bit. I tried to, continue, but here Daniel, of course, realized that the main principle when you have some material up is to exchange everything, and then it's going to be simpler for you to convert the advantage. Otherwise, well, I might come to d2, the rook would be happy to attack some pawns here, but yeah, rook d1, just exchanging it, and I have no chances at all. And then white is coming, and yeah, I'm trying to stabilize everything in the center, but of course at some point I get some weaknesses. This rook is coming and just destroying all of the pawns, and at some point he decided just to trade it for a bishop because he has so many pawns and I can never stop everything with my king, so I finally resigned here. So I hope you enjoyed these games, and in this video I'm showing you the most incredible game of my entire chess life with a double queen sacrifice, so definitely take a look.